Okay, let's dive into the infrastructure events section of the Exobot Investigate tab inside of here. And when we open this up, you're going to have three different sections, and the first one being infrastructure events. Now, on the previous video, we talked about infrastructure sessions. Now, a session, I'm going to load essentially a session, and during that session, I did several different things. There could be many different events inside of there, like Git bucket activity, kind of put activity, whatever it might be listed inside of there. And that's going to give you that type of view. However, there also might be a scenario where very specifically you want to look at things from an event perspective. So just like we had on the sessions tab, I can filter things down by source IP, different cloud environments, accounts, different categories of events inside of here. I could very simply just we'll filter down to an identity or an event name inside of here. And those are all very valid ways to consume this page. However, once again, a lot of times what I find myself doing is coming down into the section where I'm either looking at things from a location perspective, but more often than not, I'm looking at things from a resource perspective. So I want to see where a certain resource has maybe been interacted with. So for example, maybe there was different function calls or user activity, all the different resource types inside of here. And then I could go filter down in those. So for example, like I only want to go load events where we see RDS type events taking place. So I can come over here, I'll apply this filter, and just like on the previous screens, you're going to create a cross filter inside of the environment where now this events table all trickles down, and we can see this right here, modify DB instance for RDS. This is the only event we have inside of here where we saw that it take place. And so what this is going to do for us is this allows us going to open up that single event inside of the environment and give us all of those details around that very specific event that we saw. So we're going to be able to see the account that this activity is taking place. We'll get any type of origin identity. We can see this was code build inside of here, IP information, source ASN. And one of the things that's really nice about this as well is if you saw something that was maybe interesting from an action perspective, is that I could say, hey, I want to go load that session. And what this is able to do is it's able to take you to that session ID, just like we were doing in the sessions. And I brought up inside of there, hey, there's a way that you can back into sessions by looking at very specific events. This is how you would do that. And now here's that total event, all of the surrounding actions that were taking place, and then more around the entirety of the session itself. So just kind of a nice way that you can interact on this particular page. So moving forward, going into data events is going to be more of the actual, just like it sounds like, the not management related events inside of there, but data related events. And just by me loading this particular page inside of here, you're going to get a pretty good idea for like what that would mean. So for example, I'm interacting with something like an S3 bucket. I'm transferring data in, I'm transferring data out, things of that nature where, matter of fact, we just had a customer that found this page particularly useful. They had a very large backup job happen from an S3 bucket, go over the public internet into a third-party vendor. And really, they didn't have necessarily what they felt the tools to use inside of native AWS to go figure out like, hey, who did this? Where did that data go? Really, what happened? So what we did in that scenario is we simply came into the data events tab inside of here. We went to the data transfer out and we sorted by descending. So basically wanted to go take a look in this specific time frame, which one had the largest data out. We very easily could have just put in the bucket name as well because they did know the bucket name. But in this way, I'm just kind of showing, hey, what were the biggest ones inside of here? So from here, we could just very easily now just go open up that bucket. And what you're going to see is it's loading up the S3 bucket information inside of here. And what we're going to get is all of the bucket objects that were impacted. We could see how many events that were being done inside of here. We could see how much data was transferred in, how much data was transferred out. One of the things that was really nice is, so for example, here's where we see our large data transfer, is we simply took our cursor right here, moved it right over to where the large data transfer happened. The entire dashboard filtered down because we knew this is when the large transfer was happening. And simply what we did from here is we scrolled down and we could go to the events tab inside of here and we know that we were looking for get object events. And so we just put a filter on get object events, all of this filtered out. We can see this is all data transferred out inside of here. Flip over to the location tab, and now very easily we're able to go to the external IP address tab, and I could see exactly where this data was leaving, or kind of the bulk of it, where this one was leaving from. So just a really nice way. And then even going into the identity tab inside of here, we were able to see is overall the role that was assumed, and then over in the origin identity, who assumed that role. So basically, if I just come over here and filter on Merrick, for example, Merrick assumed the SSO administrator role when he went and did these get object activities. And here was those events that we see inside of here. So it was a really nice way that they could very kind of quickly and easily do that. And we were able to get attribution of what ended up happening in there for them. So really cool use case for the data events page on top of here. As we scroll down inside of here, you're also going to be able to do some quick filters on here as well. So for example, I'm looking for cross account activity and data transfer events, maybe cross region events. So sometimes these particular type of filters inside of here are not the easiest type of things to, I would say, write from a query perspective, like in a sim. And very easily you could just go, hey, I just want to look at cross account activity, how many events, data transfer, where is it going, cross region. Errors as well. This one's kind of interesting, where very simply it could just be like, okay, I just want to look where we're having problems inside of our environment. So I could see like access denied events, come over here and filter on that, and then we'll see basically all of the details filtered down inside of here. But also this kind of gives you also an idea of where people might be probing around inside of your environment as well. It'd be like, hey, where are we seeing these type of activities happen? Go now filter maybe down to identities and see like, hey, what accounts are running into these particular errors inside of here. So just a cool way that we can come in here and interact with data events and really get a good idea of what's going on inside of our environment for that perspective. And then lastly, we have our errors tab inside of here. And just like it sounds like, this is going to let you know, like, hey, what type of errors are happening in my infrastructure, and really where are they coming from. So all of the normal filters that you would expect across the top, I want to go filter down on those. And then you can see inside of here, here's the particular error message. What was it trying to do? Where was it being done from? And then we go split that information down even further down here. So let's go ahead and go and pivot over to the overview tab and go take a look at all the different type of error types we have inside of here. Sometimes I like to look at it from a table perspective inside of here. So for example, we can see error type access denied. Let's go ahead and filter on that. And now we can go and see here is all of the access denied events, read events. So the event name head bucket inside of here, which identities are we seeing that being done from? So just a really nice way that we can get that level of information. And so for example, 944,000 error events for this particular, actually we don't have an identity for this one. So this might be something interesting to go filter down on. Next closest is this demo Chronoforge. So basically I might want to go filter on that. And now what we're going to see inside of here is I've already filtered down on access denied. I filtered down on that user account. And now I can see every single one, and it looks like it's attempting to assume a role, STS, read event, get an access denied inside of here. So this could be very well just a permission thing that we want to go adjust. So this is really kind of how you would leverage mainly the infrastructure sessions page and how you can tie into sessions from events, and then also going to get more down into data related events and errors as well. Thank you.